Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to turn the rotors on a bicycle with hydraulic disc brakes. Rotors, steel rotors, think about them kind of like a blank vinyl record. If little bits of particle and grease or whatever gets in here and scratches the surface of this metal disc, as the disc is spinning and you apply the brakes, that's like putting the needle on the record, and that's where brake squeal comes from. And it's a really, really annoying thing to have to listen to. Isn't that just lovely? The best way to deal with it is the process that I'm about to show you, which is going to entail resurfacing the brake pads and the rotor. And so let's get started. So to complete this job, you're going to need about $20 worth of stuff from your local auto parts store. And that's granted if you don't have these things already. You're going to need a sanding block, and you're going to need sandpaper. You're going to need anything from 120 to 220 grit. I've got 180 grit here because that's the best I could find in that range. This stuff, not good for your skin. Not really something that you're going to want to like dip your hands all in. So you're going to want to wear gloves for that. The other reason you're going to want to wear the gloves is once you get the surface of the rotors and the surface of the brake pads cleaned and resurfaced, you're not going to want the oils or any debris from your hands or fingers to get onto those surfaces until you have a chance to break them in, which means you have to install them with the gloves back on. And you're going to want to get some shop towels, and the reason for that is that a regular paper towel or napkins or anything of that sort is going to actually get broken down by this chemical, and they'll become linty and they'll kind of shred and tear up. And you sure do not want any of that stuff on the surface of these rotors when you're done with them. So good old shop towels. There you go. And you're obviously going to need the tools that would be required to disassemble whatever brake system you have. So I'm going to be doing both sets of brakes today. Reason being is that I had a jogger run out in front of me on a path. You know, I had a split second to make a decision, which was either take the jogger out or take the bicycle off the path into a extremely steep downhill grassy area, which I knew the traction on the bike wasn't going to be able to handle that. So I opted for a controlled fall, and I wasn't hurt and the bicycle wasn't hurt, but a bunch of garbage, dirt, mud got thrown up into the brakes and all up into my chain and all the basic parts of your bike that you really don't want to get all muddy and gross. So by the time I made the 5-mile ride back, that crap had eaten into the surface of these brake pads, and it was howling like a banshee by the time I got it back. So these brakes are great because they will work when they're wet. They will work pretty much in any conditions. You know, the only problem with it is that they are maintenance intensive. And if you're going to have these pieces of equipment on, like hydraulic disc brakes, it behooves you to learn how to maintain it for yourself. Because if not, you're going to be spending a lot of money with the tech, or you're not going to be properly maintaining your bike, which in all honesty can be very dangerous. Alright, so you have your disc brake and your pads off. With Magura, the pads are magnetic and they have a little locking pin that goes through them to keep them from coming out. But basically they sit attached inside the calipers magnetically. And what you're going to do is you're going to sand this surface. You can sand this surface. Now I'm touching these with my bare hands because I hadn't sanded them yet, but you definitely do not want to get any dirt or grime or grit or oils from your fingers or anything on these brake surfaces once you're done resurfacing them. You want to be very careful when you're cleaning the rotors because the edges of these rotors are very sharp. These particular rotors, this is stainless steel. These edges get very, very sharp and can cut you very easily. So just take your time. Don't be in a hurry. Just make sure that you get everything nice and clean. And again, at this point, you definitely want to be using your gloves so that, one, you don't get any chemical on you because this chemical is pretty toxic. And then two, you don't want to get any oils from your skin onto the rotors because it would totally defeat the purpose of why you're cleaning it. what you're going to want to do is you want to keep your rotor completely flat and stable. So I'm gonna use one hand to hold it, and then you're going to use a sanding block so it's flat. And you're just going to very carefully go in a circular motion. You want to go with the direction that the rotor turns, and you're only going to want to do the outside, inch or two. And take your time. Don't dig in. The purpose of sanding is to level the surface. You don't want to, take it and just rub in one place unevenly to where you're going to wear the rotor down in a particular area. You want to try to be uniform in the way you do it, so that way the surface remains flat, which is what you're trying to get to. You're trying to get to basically like a new surface. You're resurfacing this so that your resurface brake pads, which we'll do in a few minutes, and this rotor can create a new bond together, and that's how you eliminate the squeal, and that's how you get better braking performance. And I've already done this. I'm just going to show you for demonstration purposes. You lay it perfectly flat on the top of your flat sanding block, and you just rub it back and forth like this, adding a little bit of pressure. And you can see the garbage and the surface material that's been taken off of these two brake pads, as I've done them both already. You want to be able to see those little silver reflective materials in the pad itself. That's the braking surface, and that's a prepped braking surface, and it's ready to be put back on the bicycle. I will one more time take a shop towel with a little bit of brake cleaning fluid on it, and just wipe it down one more time to get the residual sanding dust off of it, and make sure that the surface is completely cleaned and primed. And you're going to want to use your gloves, because you do not want to touch these surfaces. So now is actually a good time to clean your hub, do any maintenance to it. If you're like me and you have these obnoxious little rubber grommets, if they get to where they're squeaky, you put a little WD-40 on those. Just make sure that you don't put so much in that it leaks out or runs out, and of course gets on your rotor surface, because that will definitely WD-40 or any kind of petroleum-based product other than your brake cleaner on your brake surface is going to leave you with a serious howling issue with your brakes. So, brake squeal happens with hydraulic disc brakes or disc brakes on bicycle systems because the bicycle pads and the rotors weren't properly broken in. And the proper break-in period for something like this would be 10 or 15 really good stops from about 15 to 20 miles an hour. Hard stops on pavement, typically flat if you can get it. You do that, and what happens is the rotors and the pads kind of form a I want to say a bond, but the material that etches into the rotor matches the material from the actual pad, and then you don't get the squeal situation.